line. I am Ashley Rose, but you could call me Ash. And today, I am actually on my main channel. We started new interviews. Before we get started, I do have to let you know that this interview is sponsored by Abracadabra NYC, the year-round Halloween store, because they'll reach out and grab you, I guess. Use the code AROS Distortion, which is my handle. Get up to 20% out. 20% off. I can't talk right. I'm a mess. So there you go. Check them out. Links below in description. We're also sponsored by Vampire Cosmetics. A Rose CPE. That's Charlie Papa Echo. If you've been here before, you know the drill. Get up to 20% off on all your cosmetic needs. Anyways, I'm here today with Spooky from Spellgrinder, the band that is glam rock meets horror punk. Here we are. Spooky, how are you today, man? How's it going, my friend?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me on here. And yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly what we are. No more, no less.
Yeah. I was listening to you today, man, and I was listening to like the newer stuff.
Good looking out.
Yeah. Now, do I sense some early's Mötley Crüe in it? Do I sense that, or am I just, crazy, or am I like, Delulu as the people say?
Yeah, no. So for the second album, Mötley Crüe is in there. It's something I'm aware of. It's something I said, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. You're going to hear a couple nods, certain production cues. Really, I liked the kind of heavy metal that is, it's radio friendly, it's punk, but it's real angular, heavy, flashy. And I liked what early Crüe, and I liked what the Ultimate Sin album by Ozzy. I thought that was a really cool period, production wise, songwriting wise. And I wanted to kind of put that album in that zone where there are things about it that are like produced, it's not a garage album, but like it's pretty stripped, it's pretty straightforward, and it's song focused. And yeah, Crüe. Even we have like a dancer in our band, and that was inspired by seeing Mötley Crüe, and just like recent Mötley Crüe where they have dancers on stage, and it's a lot cooler an experience than just seeing like dudes,
people that really love Mötley Crüe or people that really hate Mötley Crüe.
Yeah.
We can't deny the influence that they had as a band. I'm a big like Tommy Lee fan. I love Nikki Sixx, so
yeah,
we had some differences.
I've been both. My early life, they were a non-entity / a punchline. Like when I was like becoming musically aware, when entering my teens, it was the second wave of like punk. Well, grunge was coming in, second wave of punk. At that point in time, Mötley Crüe was over. Like the music industry was done with them. They were making them look ridiculous. Generation Swine was just then coming out, and it was a noticeable failure. And so my early experience with the Crüe was just like, yeah, I don't know what this is. This is what people older than me were listening to, I guess. I don't know. And I lived my life. And then I always kind of dismissed them, but I was absolutely fucking wrong for doing that. And the things that I wasn't crazy about Vince Neil's voice. Now I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, because I hear him singing now. I'm like, hell yeah. I mean, him live now, who fucking cares? Like that has nothing to do with how awesome that band is.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're talking about like just guitar riffs, the drums are amazing. That's why I was like, now am I crazy? Or is this kind of like early's Mötley Crüe, like Shout at the Devil type?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like our song Playing with the Devil, it's got that Shout at the Devil, it's got Running with the Devil, it's all these things that you're doing with the devil, and it's just another thing. another perspective on devil shit, but like, no, I really like the image, the mystique, the evolution of Crüe. I love rock and roll. Rock and roll is my religion, and you have to understand the Crüe. It was a big part of them. They embraced the Aerosmith stuff and the punk stuff, which those were supposed to be in contrast to each other, which are weird because they're key points of my DNA, but they were mortal enemies at a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, I heard it, I dug it. I was like, that's why I was like, how do we describe this? I'm like, no, this is what we describe it, because I hear, you know, EPs like all the time. I just did a review on the last one that was different, but it was good. You know, I dug it. You know, like I said, like I think horror punk has gone and it's adjusting and transcending and it's evolving into a lot of different things, which I think is cool that a lot of like more you know, older horror punk bands that have been around are evolving to different types of styles. And that's what I've really dug about like what I had just recent like I said today, I was listening to you. I was like, well, I'm gonna listen to it. And I was like, you know, this is badass, man. This is awesome.
Well, I love that. It was badass on purpose. It was not accidental. Like it was designed to be bad fucking ass. Just like whatever it is that's cool about music, but also what makes music only cool for 10 minutes. Like you could put something out, but it could have just enough hairspray where this has a short shelf life, you know, or it has a slap bracelet on it. It's like, no, that thing is going to be out soon. Like there's just shit that ages things fast. And then there's things that all good rock and roll has in common. And so, you know, we like to play with image, and so having that kind of early Crüe danger, that connection to punk, but having a more street look, you know, that is what made Guns N' Roses cooler than Poison. It made Nirvana cooler than Guns N' Roses, and you know, it's what made thrash metal cooler than, you know, Warlock metal, because you know it looked like it cared less. And so having that knowledge of rock and roll and image, the Ramones, like all that cool shit, and then going and have like, I like Rat a lot, but Rat's image is so like connected to a time. It's very spandexy, contoured dude shit, you know, and it's cool, but like, you know, it's like, of course that was only going to last for like 5 years max. Like then it was like, okay, we need to be cool again, you know.
Now I finally get to talk to you, man. So talk to me about, you know, what you have going on currently, you know, as far as, like I said, you know, the new album.
Yeah. Well, the brand new album, Planet of the Vampires, came out on the 4th of July, America's birthday. And it's very exciting, a lot building up to it. I tried to have a smart, meaningful release where just you build up to it, let people know about it, you know. Our first album came out, it was cool, you know, but we did a lot of work since the first album came out, it only came out a year ago. So we are cranking out solid fucking gold. Like the first album's not old. It's a year old, but there's an evolution, you know? But yeah, so right now working with my band to get gig ready. We switched drummers. So right now I'm working my drummer, getting him gig ready. And then we're just going to go start slaying some shit, you know, around here mostly. If cool opportunities come up outside of the California Mojave Desert where we live, then yeah, maybe we'll do that. But mainly we stick around. The way that we kind of tour the world is by talking to rad people like you and making kick-ass music videos where you can kind of see what we're all about. And those travel the world. And the current one traveling the world is Planet of the Vampires. the title track off of Planet of the Motherfucking Vampires with the biggest parental advisory label ever, because you gotta know, parents. You gotta go through it to get to it. You know, there's some shit out there, but yeah.
I mean, I've heard a lot. Like I said, I've been trying to catch up on everyone's like recent releases. But, you know, back to let's talk about how you started. From my understanding, you know, through my research, you were a guitarist. You were a well, I mean, you still are, but you were like originally like a fill-in guitarist. Like people would call you up, you would play, and then you would, you know, check out pretty much.
Yeah, I was a gun for hire guitar player, do sessions, do touring, and that's reserved for people that work their asses off, can learn songs fast, are easy to get along with and look cool. You know, it's a cool line of work, but like it's rough. And the whole time I had my own bands, and I'm busting my ass to like meet people, you know, networking. This is like Hollywood Sunset Strip, but this isn't like the 2010s, you know. So like it was a weird time, because there were these.
I remember 2010.
Yeah, remember back then? It was cool time, right? There were glam rockers, there were like true rock and rollers, but the industry didn't know what the fuck to do. So there weren't like record contracts being thrown around. But that fucking Mötley Crüe, fucking like Guns N' Roses life, like people were fucking living it, and they were doing it without industry support. They were doing it because they were just fucking insane. You know, it was the last 10 minutes that LA was cheap. You know, it was wild times.
Yeah. I remember 2010. I remember 2009. That's how old I am that I remember. Like, it was like I tell people, it was a different time. I mean, it was a fun time. It was a pretty sweet time because everyone was learning about like more than ever about DIY culture and like distributing their own music. They were figuring out, they were finding ways. That was probably like really the height of that time period and that style. And also, you know, if it wasn't for that and platforms like MySpace and like, you know, I forgot who else was out there. What was that? Was it Pandora? I think was the radio like
Friendster was a big thing back then.
Yeah.
I used to put my stuff up on GeoCities, like back in the fucking day.
GeoCities
be up on GeoCities. Yeah, like being able to share music on MySpace was awesome back in the day, because it's just like, oh my god, because you know, be making like recordings of your band in your garage or like home demos or something, and it's like, what are you gonna do? And it was just so rad to be able to share those shit demos on your shit MySpace page, which now I always liked MySpace like, more than everything. I thought that was the
like
best.
Open about it, you know, about it. Like they were like, all right, cool, you know, or you would get like maybe a few people that would hate on it, but other than that, people were cool. It was a different time, you know. I recall that there was like that surgence of like glam metal that came out. You know, there was people that really popularized on it because of platforms like that. But 2010 was a different time, man, and that's what I tell people compared to now. Like, but if it wasn't for that, I truly believe if it wasn't that resurgence of like DIY, like learning from like trial and error, we wouldn't have like things like Spotify or anything like that. It kind of evolved into, you know, learning how to merchandise, market, distribute, record the best you can with what you got.
It's trying to figure out the industry that used to kind of build you up so that it could support itself, and those are things that it used to have to figure out. It's not going to do it anymore. So if you want it, that's like, yeah, those are the building blocks to doing it yourself. You got to learn how to do all those things. Social media is a great tool, but yeah, then it makes it easy for a lot of people. And so then you got to like distinguish yourself amongst them, and things that we clearly kick ass at because you know, this is cream rising to the fucking top right here. This is, you know, it's a meeting of the goddamn minds. So yeah, I was in Texas for a while. I like Texas. We were in Fredericksburg, Texas.
Gotcha. I'm originally from like South Texas, so it was. I remember that time. I lived in North Cal for a while, around 2010. I did live over there 2010, 2009. And I lived in Atlanta. So, I mean, I've been pretty much everywhere, just about,
Yeah.
especially with like travel. But what else do you want to talk about as far as your album, man? Like, I really dig it. It's good.
Oh man, well that's my favorite thing to talk about right now is how good that album is. Like
It is.
there's
It's very.
there's albums that are not so good. Like it's shitty to say, but this is an awesome album. Like I'm stoked I made it. I'm stoked that this band exists. Uh, we're a weird band in the desert. Like there's nothing else that's like us out here. Like this is the land of like stoner doom, you know, Graham Parsons, like these things that are a little, you know, easier going than tight focused songs of Spellgrinder. Like no one wants to work that hard out here, so like it's hard to find my band out here. They're good dudes and chick, you know. Nephthys, my go-go dancer, my favorite member of the band. You know, that's a good thing to have. But yeah, like that's my favorite thing to talk about. Kick-ass band, kick-ass album. The first album kicks ass too, but the first album was more heavy metal,
Mhm.
and it's funny because when people heard that first album, they're like, "Oh my god, it sounds like Mötley Crüe and Wasp and Alice Cooper." Things that had nothing to do with the album. I wasn't trying to put those influences into the album. I was trying to make a heavy metal album. But I am a glam rock and roller punk rocker, you know. First fucking concert, social motherfucking distortion.
Yeah,
Last fucking concert, social motherfucking distortion. So that's why I
I've
always
seen
bookending
Social
my life.
Distortion so many times. Like, I used to, like, between like the ages of like 17 all the way to like my mid 20s, I saw Social Distortion at least once every year
Yeah.
because they used to come to like my hometown like almost every year because
Yep.
my hometown has like an amphitheater. So I used to see them like every year. Sometimes I would see them like twice because they
Yeah.
would come down twice. I haven't seen them this year though, but with Bad
Yeah.
Religion.
They're kicking ass this year. Mike Ness's voice is fucking great. Like he had the throat surgery, so no, he's fucking kicking ass. No, I got into him because of my dad. I was reading like right when White Light, White Heat, White Trash came out. There, I was like living in a Motel 6 in Stockton, and I bought a magazine and White Light, White Heat, White Trash had just come out, and I was reading an article about it, and it sounded cool. And Mike Ness looked really cool in like 1996, 97. You know, dude looked cool. You know, and I was just like, "What is this?" So I asked my dad. He's like, "Oh yeah, Social D," and we went to the record store and he fucking he bought Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell on tape,
Uh-huh.
and I bought the CD of White Trash. Got into the car and he put on like fucking like, you know, what starts off with Cold Feelings, and I was just like, oh my god, oh no, and just, you know, I'm in ninth grade, not going to school, living in a fucking motel, just playing Social D licks on like in a hotel bed, fucking 4 months, like. And then we went to go see. That was my first show with Social Distortion. And my dad would take us every fucking time they would play. It was insane. Saw him at the Hootenanny, saw him with the Cramps, saw him with Buck Owens, saw him with everyone.
Yeah, I have a Social Distortion tattoo. So it's like,
Well, that's what the distortion is in your name, right?
actually, okay, so I had originally had my handle as Ashrose XIII for 13, but I was getting like shadow banned on Twitter because it looked like it had the word sex in it. And
Okay,
people
yeah.
couldn't find me. They thought like I had like deactivated, like, well, X now. And it's fucking still Twitter. Fuck you. You know, it's still
I
Twitter.
mean,
And
that
so,
seems like it's a cool name though, too. Like, that's a cool name though. Like with, oh yeah, it looks like sex. Like that's a cool name. Like it sucks that you can't have something that looks like a cool name. And
yeah.
like that's what dislodges is it looks cool. Like,
And I'm like, there's fucking porn on Twitter, dude. Like, but no, so I was like, well, I have to find something distinguishable. I work for Distortion Media. I handle like the media side over there. Like, I'm the second boss. So I was like, well, I'm attached to that. So I just switched the 13 to Distortion and it worked out. So
it's cool. It's cool too. It also looks cool.
yeah,
But you
but
know,
yeah, so
yeah.
I kept it as that. Before it used to just be, because I had my own site that was entertainment and wrestling based. Then I started working for my main boss at his site to help him out as a writer. And I didn't want to be like the main boss, and I was like, well, it's stupid to keep both of them if they're the same thing. So we agreed to like merge the site, and then we switched it to Distortion Media versus
Yeah.
the Wrestling Movement Plus.
Dip our toes in,
Yeah.
NXT and, the others, but like,
Yeah, no, I still think WWE is one of like the best well produced like products and companies, as far as especially with like professionalism too.
well, it's so available right now. Like Peacock is kicking butt. In the Hulu show stuff, like we have to watch Raw and SmackDown like a day after because we don't have the shit that plays it live. So that's like the bane of our existence right now. But like this morning we watched like the last Unforgiven from like 2008.
Yeah.
Like we just go through and watch classic matches like on an off day, and we went to WrestleMania 39.
I've never been to a WrestleMania, but I've been to like, I've been to a bunch of Raws and SmackDowns like throughout my whole life.
Awesome.
And
you got a favorite? You got some highlights?
Highlights. I mean, I really liked, the era of like D-Generation X. Yeah, I really liked that. I really liked, I'm really big into like tag team wrestling. So I was like a big New Age Outlaws fan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I liked the fucking degenerate attitude of everything.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We go and just kind of like bury ourselves in the Attitude Era just because.
Yeah. It was a different time, and then we turned into Ruthless Aggression after that.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
then
you got to do some weird stuff. Like every once in a while, like they leave a titty in. Like,
it was a time, man. And then I went into like more into TNA, and then that's my background is in interviewing. Is I was interviewing at like TNA. Well, it was Impact at the time, and then they went back to TNA.
No, I saw that. I read your file. Like that's very cool stuff.
I loved it, man. I will never really have anything bad to say about that company because they gave me so many opportunities, especially after like when I got sober, like my sobriety. They gave me so many opportunities, and I will never have anything bad to say. The shows are fun. The audience they just have a great time. Like,
True Blue. This shit's hardcore. Wrestling's hardcore. We first started going going to like Catholic church. It's just everyone knows when to do certain shit. You're like, oh my God, whoa, and you figure out what's going on.
Regardless of, that's anywhere, but it teaches you to have like a lot of thick skin and discipline when it comes to certain things. That's why I was like, oh, as soon as like you were like, oh, hey, we're going to do an interview. I was like, all right, it's going to be this long. We're going to do this. It's going to be like this. It's going to be aired. This is just the idea.
Yeah. Well, that's pro. I tend to go long, like, and I try not to, but
It
I,
happens.
I have shit wrong with me. And like
Everyone
if I come
does.
into like an interview and like I'm like mellow, I'm a lot more focused. But sometimes like something will happen. I'm just like bouncing off the fucking walls. Like
Oh, dude,
this one, I was
everyone's
okay.
got something.
Interviewed by cool professional people, preferably chicks, and makes it a lot more interesting. Always
I,
get better interviews with the chicks than the dudes. I
dude,
don't know why.
it's what it is, man. But no, I always tell people minimum's 20 minutes, unless like you got good vibes, man. You got you got good vibes. And so I was like, this interview's it's gonna go smooth.
It's gonna be okay. I'd just be like, my wife is an interview. I mean, that was her deal. Like when blogging first started doing a thing, whatever that was.
Ask you,
She's a rock blogger,
subject
and
was your wife? I heard she was like an interviewer, like she's like a really cool old school rock chick from what I heard.
yeah, her deal is called hardrockchick.com. And like she was the rock blogger from the Grammys, like the Grammys when they started like being like, okay, social media, the internet's a thing. Because she was already like she was going to like 350 shows a year and writing about it. She got contacted by the Grammys and they would send her to events and she'd be at the front row at the Grammys for like 7 or 8 years. She was doing that. That's what she was doing when I met her. It's cool. I was like a rock and roll scumbag. We got set up by uh, this gal who taught her yoga, no Pilates, and then I was making a record with this guy, and they were married, and they set us up, and yeah, like they were just trying to get her to write about her band, I think, but she was a total fucking babe, and
Hey,
she drove a hot car, and yeah, rad chick. She's a rad writer. She still like pokes at it, but she doesn't do it. I mean, she was just doing it every day back in the day, and it's fucking exhausting, So now she's doing other stuff, but I force her to participate in Spellgrinder, and she's a good sport, she's not begging to be in the videos. She's not begging to be on stage. I actually really have to work on her to get her to do that shit, and she's doing me a huge fucking favor.
well, they always say, behind like a successful great man is a strong woman. So it's like that's what I hear. That's the saying or something like that. I could be wrong. I could be misspeaking that saying. So don't,
Yeah. Oh no, and I agree with that. It really helps when you can kind of like pool your resources with anyone and like have a long-term collaboration that, it's like a corporation. You just have other, you delegate responsibilities and you tackle shit and you make it work. And yeah, it's worked out for me. Like I was a fucking rock and roll scumbag, like sleeping on couches and stuff for years. Like, yeah, I was touring. I was doing cool stuff. I have awesome friends and blah, 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 blah. But man, you know what? At the end of the night, you might be sleeping on a floor. Not that sexy, and yeah, kind of the real, not as romantic saying is behind every rock and roll scumbag is, a girl who can afford to date you who also might be trying to piss off their parents.
I mean,
enter me, So.
I mean, come on. And I always tell people, hey, that might be great for you, but don't forget, Jim Morrison also had Pam. Ozzy had Sharon.
Yeah, like those guys without that there's a lot of them. You just forget about them after a while because there's a constant churn of, oh, look, it's a rock star. Where did that rock star go? It costs a lot of fucking money and energy to be a fucking rock star. You gotta buy ads that convince people that you're worth a shit. You gotta fucking do all this stuff that's unnatural and it's not real. And it's just so you could pretend you're successful. Like that's why the record industry would do that for you and charge you on the back end for it, right? Yeah. Like
Oh, like,
You're doing that in real time. Like it's exhausting.
and then you owe them like a bunch of money, and then you come back and you're like check like from what you're whatever
Yeah.
is like nothing pretty
Yeah,
much.
that's why like there is no record label down here. Like I'm unaffiliated.
That's cool, man. That's
I
cool.
know how to do enough stuff. I just sell it myself. I keep all the fucking money and I put it back into the product, you know?
I mean, that's the best way to do it. Like even content creating, it's the same shit.
Yeah, it's the DIY that you're talking about. Yeah, and absolutely.
I love the fact that you have a go-go dancer. I love it. I
Thank you. It's a
love
device. Like I'm very image conscious, but so like I'm aware of like, well, what would I like if I saw? And then like being an aging rock and roller, I'm 42 now. Like it's different than when I was like in my early 30s, pretending like I was in my mid 20s. Like now it's just like, all right, at a certain point, when does it get fucking creepy? At a certain point, like when is it like, okay, like the kind of energy you bring to stage, when is that crossing a fucking line? Like, and like
like the
having
way
a gal on, yeah,
the world is right now too. Like
yeah, like having a gal on stage, like it's disarming. Like it makes the dudes look safer because hey, here's a chick that's cool with hanging out with these dudes, and so like really like the Motley Crüe and the sound and the image. Like I like music that is awesome. That's actually likable. You don't really have to jump through hoops to enjoy it, but also music that attracts fucking women. And there's bands where like you can tell like they don't want women there. It repels women. You got a couple women, they're like, oh well, but I like it. Like my wife, but I like it. It's like, yeah, she's an exception to every rule. Like, and that's what I like about her. She's like me. She's very contrary. But there's music where it attracts women, a cooler vibe. It's a party, and you want to attract 30% women so that will attract more dudes. Otherwise, it's like, and this ain't for everyone, but like, here's the deal. Like, I don't want to go to a place where a bunch of like 15-year-olds are jump fly kicking each other. Like, that's not for me. But I'll go see Motley Crue, and like I might see Tommy Lee's dick on a jumbotron, but that's a lot more appetizing to me than like getting fucking moshed to death. Like I don't want that.
oh man. But I love the fact that you got a go-go dancer, man. I think that's cool. It reminds me of early Rob Zombie with like White Zombie when he had a Sherry, his wife, Sherry Moon there, which
Yeah.
I mean, I dug it. I was like, I thought it was cool. And
yeah, it was super cool. Those are huge videos, and just seeing him work with her and seeing his creative eye. And yeah, so I've directed all of Spellgrinder's videos. Two of them were collaborations with my friend John Gruber, but they all have kind of a Rob Zombie eye to them because production wise, it's not the hardest thing to do. You just, know your angles, know your timing, know your, get it right. Don't be lazy on it, but get her done, and then he has his cast of characters. He has a built-in exotic chick. Tim Burton does it too, like Tim Burton will be going out with an exotic chick, and that exotic chick is in everything that he does, and it's great. I'm happy for it. Like one of my favorite bands ever is the Cramps. I love the idea of Lux and Ivy. I just love seeing them together. It doesn't matter who else is in the fucking band. I don't need them in the picture. And here's the deal, like you get this far in adulthood with you don't have so much of the carrot of money in front of you. Like it's a lot of work and you're not like a rock star, so you tend to go through members and having like a core that you can show as like the face of the band that is constant, because you know Nephthys and I will always fucking be together, and she's always going to be a total fucking babe. I do get like twice a year I get uglier. Like I'm aging fast now, but like you know she's getting better and better looking. I'm hoping with technology there's going to be a filter that just like tightens my shit up, but you know like you know right now I'm not that good at technology.
No, your wife she's a total babe, your wife, you know, and she's smart too.
Ah,
And
shucks. Yeah,
like,
well, thank you. She thinks the things same thing about you. We were watching your videos, just you know, prepping for the interview. We do our homework. We're pro, you know. We have fucking respect. I don't know a lot, but I do know fucking respect, you know, and you know.
I try, you know, like I do, you know, I got interviews up here and then like I've been wanting to do more music interviews, so that's where I'm going towards now in my career. So yeah, no, your wife, total babe, total smart, like completely, you know, full package. I'm happy that y'all are happy, you know, and I'm so glad to hear that she's a major part of your band.
Well, you know, she's a fucking bitch. She's a fucking bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Sometimes you got to stand your ground.
No. She's actually she's sweet. I'm a terrible human being, and I'm really hard to get along with. So she's really like she's a saint, and we're kind of like that with each other, though. You know, like I'm attracted to like the mean girl, and you know I'm half afraid of her, and so that's very attractive.
But no, I'm so glad to hear she's, you know, you two support each other, and that's absolutely great, you know.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and yeah, adds a lot of class to the band. The videos are a lot more fun having a girl just shaking it in it, you know. A lot funner than me showcasing my really gnarly teeth, my very authentic rock and roll teeth. They get more authentic as the years go on. Like
About your wife, you know, clothing and how everything was like DIY. So you said you wanted to look like you were off of like Rolling Stone or in the Rolling Stones. So
yeah, always wanted to look cool. You know, when I was a kid, I would see like Michael Jackson videos. I was fucking obsessed with Michael Jackson when I was a little kid. I just like watch Moonwalker VHS tape and just like learn every fucking dance and try to copy outfits and shit. I had a goddamn scrapbook. And this is when I was like 10, right? You know, obsessed with that shit, you know, but then as I got older, I get into fucking grunge. I got long hair. It's like undershaved long hair and like fucking like a flannel and ripped jeans and some fucking airwalks. That goes on a couple years until like I'm a punk rocker, but it's just like you couldn't go buy these clothes, you know? You had to make the goddamn clothes. So, you know, if you wanted to do it right and really like, I used to be mildly offended when I would see people doing it wrong, you know? You know, and it's all, I mean, it's all the time. So you learn to keep it to yourself because it's not like everyone is just like nailing a good rock and roll look out of nowhere when it's very inconvenient and inaccessible. Like you couldn't go to a fucking store and buy like the clothing that you would see on Led Zeppelin. And if you did, you weren't getting it out of the fucking men's section, you know? Not that they did, you know? But,
my friend,
you know.
Richard, well, he passed away like a long time ago. He would actually buy, cause he was very into like, you know, he loved Johnny Thunders.
Mm-hmm.
He loved like, you know, glam, I guess punk rock, you can say like the New York Dolls. And that was more or less his style. And I remember, and he was a tall dude, like he was almost 6 foot tall. And he loved women's button up blouses. Like he loved them, like because he was like, oh, I could get it in pink, I could get polka dots, it stretches. Like
Yeah,
that's where he would
they drape better. You have thinner materials.
a skinny dude. He was like a tall, skinny dude.
Yeah, like, but the bane of my existence I mean, because I had a couple, I had a couple fucking blouses. Not even a couple, I'm sorry, like, at a time throughout the course of like 25 years of being a Thunders, yes.
Yeah, you know
Like,
what I mean?
yes, no, I was right there. Like the bane of my existence would, because the cut would always be great. Like it would be kind of cropped up. They wouldn't hang long. If you're skinny, they kind of have a good cut. Some have like kind of like tit sacks where like, like those, you got to figure that out because you can't be like having tit cutouts in your man shirts. But like the bane of my existence would be like the orientation of the snaps.
Yeah.
Like men's go this way, women's go this way. And so like no one would ever be like, hey, but
no one ever really would pay that much attention, but
I would fucking know. And so I had to work really hard over a long period of time to like, hey, learn how to sew so you can like modify clothes so they work. But to put together like a roster of a certain amount of clothing items so that you didn't seem like you were as poor as you were. That was part of how I tricked my wife into being with me. I had one pair of shoes that had holes in it. I had 2 pairs of pants that had been given to me for free by a girl that worked at Kill City. And then I had like 3 really ripped up American Apparel Deep B's in different colors. And they were all ripped up because I had like this fucking like coin, like Navajo coin and like turquoise belt buckle that would just eat my fucking shirts, like when my guitar would rub up against it. So all my shirts had like holes right here. And it worked. But like being a poor dirtbag and trying to look nice and yeah, eventually like trying to make it look like, okay, yeah, and I'm wearing male clothes. But now there's all these fast fashion brands that are selling shit that's like not bad. And it's like, fuck. And it's accessible and it's cheap and it sucks. I wish people had to work harder to be cool.
yeah, I'm about like accessories. I'm like I like sometimes like I do like I over accessorize.
Yeah. Well,
Now that we've talked about, fashion, we've talked about, your influences as far clearly, we're talking about Mötley Crüe, we got some Guns N' Roses in there. Is there anything, as far as what else you're about, what to expect that you want everyone to know about?
oh yeah. Well, I can I'll just like Babe Ruth it and call my shot. Like our current album is kicking ass. You whoa, rain's dumping down right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's awesome. Okay, I think we're happy to have it. I think my dog is flipping out in the other room. It's great. So I like calling my shot. I like the ego of rock and roll. I like performance and big personalities, and I incorporate that into what I do. But we're already recording our 3rd album, which is a concept album about a mummy that is traveling in a freak show. And then someone steals the sacred amulet and it has to kill. Damn! You hear that?
No, I didn't.
Damn! Yeah. Like if we get washed away, it's because I've been saying God damn it too much. Like don't say God damn it so much because you will get your house washed away. You will be smited from the earth. So watch out, kids.
But yeah, Spooky, thanks for being on. Thank you for talking about your new album. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's cool to have you. It's great. You got some great vibes. I know y'all got a storm happening over there, but new album's kick ass.
Go to our Bandcamp, buy one of everything. You can get our 1st and 2nd album, a t-shirt, our koozie for drinks. You're sober. I'm sober too. I would never drink any alcohol ever.